Welcome back to the 99, and we're going to do a little bit of a shorter one. This one is the first miracle Jesus ever performed, actually, which I wasn't sure that it was the first one ever until I
I didn't know that. I didn't know that until we were getting ready to do it, and I was like,
yeah, it's the first one he ever did. So if you don't know what that was, it's when he turned water into wine, and that was at a wedding in a place called Cana, Israel. And so we're going to talk about that. I guess you can read the verse first before I start talking.
We're going to read John 2, 1 through 11. All right.
This is the story.
Yes. On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman," and this is Jesus talking, "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My hour has not yet come." And his mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed to his glory, and his disciples believed in him. Wow.
And it says, after the wedding, he went to Capernaum for a few days with his mom and brothers and disciples. But no, you didn't miss it. It's just, I don't know why they stopped. But,
I wondered that too.
But yeah. So, let's go over.
Oh.
You're like out of the frame for some reason. So wedding ceremonies would last for 7 days. So that's actually something. Do you know how, like, that's in another video where, actually it's this one. Mm-hmm. Are we living in the tribulation, the Jewish wedding customs?
Oh yeah.
And it says that, so we'll do this one in the future, but it's, how he compares, the time when Jesus comes back to a wedding, and that's why, like, the 7 days that it would last, that's like the 7 years of the tribulation.
Right. Okay.
It's kind of they're like related.
That's
like,
interesting.
That's how he describes his coming as like a wedding. He's coming back for the bride. He's coming. So anyways, a little side note.
Totally. Yeah.
But, so that's why they drank a lot of wine, was because it lasted a long time. Their celebrations would last a week. To be drunk was unacceptable, even by the Romans and the Greeks. They considered it barbaric. It was an embarrassment or a shame on the family to run out of wine during a celebration. Yeah. So, his mom was wanting him to help because she didn't want the family to be like shamed.
Yep.
So
it's a pretty important custom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not comparable to modern day wine and our alcoholic content.
Yeah.
So that's something that people always say. I mean, I used to think that too. Like, if Jesus drank wine, then he doesn't care if I drink a bunch of wine. But there's even like a country song. I heard Jesus, he drank wine. I bet we get along just fine, or whatever it says. And I mean, it's not the same alcoholic content as the stuff we have now. They always, I didn't know this, but they always diluted it 3 to 1, sometimes 20 to 1 with water. Like, it was mostly water, and they would dilute it with wine. And they did that because of the bacteria in their water.
Wow.
The wine was meant to basically like kill germs and bacteria in the water and like help their stomachs basically with the water because it was dirty.
Wow.
I
know. I never thought about how their water must have been back then or anything.
Yeah. Scary stuff. I mean, there's dirty water everywhere, but like that's why when like people travel and they go to places like that, they tell you like bring bottled water. Yep, you know, like for sure. Don't drink the water from there because you'll get sick. And
you even got to watch the water bottles, like make sure they're unopened because I know in India there's a big problem with that.
Oh, that's scary.
They just refilled them.
Oh no! Really?
You gotta make sure I learned that about traveling abroad. You gotta.
That's scary.
Yeah, I always just made sure I had bottled water with me.
Yeah.
That wasn't cracked.
Yeah, but that's why they did it. It was mostly for bacteria.
Wow.
So as that scripture says that she just read, the master of the feast that was served first commented on the flavor. The flavor of the wine, not how strong it was. It says he saved the best tasting for last. The best tasting. So it's the flavor of the grapes. Let's see. So this is interesting. God never produced alcohol, and neither has the earth. And I know that sounds crazy. When she was reading it, she's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But what that means is that, yes, you know, fruit ferments. So, you know, I'm not saying that it doesn't ferment and that doesn't create some sort of alcoholic content. What I'm saying is that the fermenting process after a while stops at a certain point. Like at a certain percentage, it stops. It doesn't just keep fermenting and keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. It doesn't.
And I guess
that.
That makes sense because when somebody's making wine, it's like there's a process. So you gotta take it off and then you add more stuff to it. Yeah, to make it get.
I have a fun story actually that I can tell because this is gonna be a short video, but I have a fun little story that So my parents actually used to make some wine, and I think it was like watermelon wine they were doing, and they had a whole bunch of different flavors. It was really cool, but when they were starting making wine, they didn't realize that the order of the ingredients you're supposed to put it in is in the order for a reason.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So like, so when the wine starts to like, you know, bubble and fizz and like all this stuff is happening, they had a big 5-gallon drum downstairs, a couple of them that they were making them in, and you plug the top right while it's doing it. I guess they put some things out of order or something, and all of a sudden we hear this bang, and we go downstairs, and like in the boiler room where they had everything, there was just red wine all over the ceiling and all over. It looked like a crime scene downstairs.
Wow.
Because I guess the order they put stuff in, the pressure was too much, and it literally exploded and blew the top and blew it all over the place.
Wow. That's funny.
It was loud. It sounded like a bomb.
Yeah, I bet.
Bang!
Because that's exactly like what it does.
Yeah, it was loud. We're like, what was that? My dad goes downstairs. Oh no. I must have put it in the wrong order or something because it blew. But yeah.
It had to have stained the walls, man.
I mean, you would never know now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but that was crazy. Little side thing.
That's funny.
Fun memory. But yeah, so the alcohol that's produced by the earth, and fermenting, it ferments to a certain point and then it stops. It's not gonna, like, you're not gonna find grapes that get like 50% from fermenting.
Yeah.
It's not gonna do that. So people think like, oh, if Jesus made wine, then he got everybody drunk at the party, and like you hear people say stuff like that, and like, oh, well then does that mean that he drank and got drunk too? It's like, no, like the stuff back in the day that like how wine was made naturally fermenting, it only got to a certain percentage. Like it says that Bible wine is what they call it. So like wine from Bible times was usually around 2 to 2.75%. That's like a near beer today.
Wow.
So like it was less percentage than like say an O'Doul's.
Yeah.
It was less than an O'Doul's even.
So I don't even know how they could even get.
I mean, if you drink enough, they had drunks we do.
Yeah.
It just says it was looked down upon and it was barbaric. But I mean, if you drink enough, you can probably get drunk off of it. I mean, they had drunks.
Well, I guess if you're going for 7 days.
Yeah. But
maybe.
Yeah, so that's interesting to think about, is that our near beers like O'Doul's, and I don't know if there's another one.
Yeah, I don't know.
For sure there's one. And that's 3% is what our near beers are.
I don't even know what those were.
So technically the Bible wine was around the same or less than an O'Doul's even.
Wow.
So I mean, I used to drink O'Doul's before I actually had real alcohol, and never once did I ever get drunk off of an O'Doul's ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever tasted any of the.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good. I mean, they're hoppy. So I mean, if you like hops, but
interesting.
It is impossible that Jesus turned the water into wine at the wedding. That would get people drunk, because that would be considered, I guess, like a sin, and Jesus never sinned. Yeah. And so he would never turn water into wine at a percentage that would make people crazy.
Deliberately. Gosh.
Yeah. There's even food preserves that stop fermenting processes. So they did that too with their food, their grapes, their stuff like that. Like there's things they can do to stop the fermenting. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. And they obviously didn't have the manufacturing that we do today. Like all the machinery and all the stuff that can make our stuff like 40% or higher. There's like, 80% stuff. Like they couldn't even do that.
Yeah. So they were really big on their olives and their grapes and what else did they do? But I know that those items were really they always wanted to try and be the best producer of it. Yeah. Wow.
So they didn't have the manufacturing that we do, and they diluted it for bacteria. And he even used, as it said in here, ceremonial cleansing jars. So there's something to be said about the water the jars he used were like a cleansing, be used for purification, be used for cleansing, like ritualistic cleansing. Sorry, I'm still stuffy.
Yeah.
So that was cool, huh? How he used cleansing jars.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know how he would know, but he's Jesus, so wow. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
And then water and wine is a symbol of the blood that or that Jesus shed on the cross. Okay, this is interesting. I'm not sure how accurate this, or like how true this is in terms of like if he actually had cardiac arrest. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just say that I don't know if this if all of it is true, but it is interesting, and it might be true, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is said that when they pierced Jesus's side to make sure he was finally dead, because he actually died pretty fast. It was like a few hours, and then he gave up his spirit when, like, I was told that, like, usually crucifixions take like multiple days for them to die, but he died in like 6 hours or something like that.
Oh, wow.
It's like way faster. And so, like, they didn't really think he was dead at first, and so they, you know, said to stab him and make sure, I guess, is what they did.
Wow. Yeah.
And they said that when they pierced his side, that water and blood came out. And it's said that water and stuff surrounding your heart kind of area happens during cardiac arrest. And so it is said that Jesus literally died of a broken heart. Which is really sad.
It is really sad.
I wasn't planning on crying.
I know.
But yeah, so when they pierced his side and water and blood came out, that's like, it looked like, from a medical standpoint, like that would be like a heart attack, like cardiac arrest. So yeah, that's like, so medically it would have looked like he died of, I mean, obviously he was beat, but I mean, it would look like he also had a heart attack or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty wild. I never knew that until he said that in the video.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
I did not know that either.
But I wasn't there, so I don't know if water came out. I wasn't there, but it sounds interesting, and I'm sure it probably was how it happened. But. So back in his time, the flavor of the wine was the most important thing. Like, people were commended on, you know,
that's why like good, they wanted the best of the grapes and everything. Yeah.
And afterwards, well, this is on the Chosen series, but we'll mention that probably a few times while we're doing these studies, because it ties in a lot. But they show this scene in the show, and afterwards, when this girl's father he's the one who owns the vineyard that was, you know, the ones providing the wine for the wedding. And so when they ran out and Jesus made the wine, it kind of looked like that wine came from his vineyard. And so he was given, like, basically honor and made to look, you know, it like built him up, and he's like, thank you for keeping the reputation of my vineyard. And you know, I don't know, it was a cool,
that's really cool
moment that the flavor was the most important thing, and the quality, like, people, they would get like recognized for how good their grapes were. It wasn't for how strong it was.
That set like a really good standard for, you know, that wedding, and gave him a good like recommendation. Kinda.
Even though Jesus made it, you know, those people who drank it didn't know. They thought it came from the people who originally brought the wine that ended up running out. And like I said in the beginning, it ran out because people showed up that weren't necessarily, they weren't planning on, and it went for 7 days. And so, I mean, if that's a long time, you know, it's not because they were just all getting drunk and drinking really fast. It's just because it was a long ceremony.
Celebration. Wow.
Yeah. So, the flavor was important, not the alcoholic content. And they couldn't even get wine to the alcoholic content that we have today. It was physically actually impossible for them to, like, you know, they can't.
I don't even think they would have known, like, any, you know, hey, let's make this alcohol, you know. I don't even think that they even crossed their mind.
I mean, but it does say that, like, there, you know, they had people that were a drunk, you know, like that got drunk just like we do, but it was still considered barbaric to them, even by the Romans and the Greeks. Did I say? They were. It was barbaric to everybody. So Yeah.
It doesn't make you wonder how someone can literally that must be all they're drinking.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
makes you wonder how they could have drunkards unless they
Like
just
I
couldn't
said,
tolerate.
they diluted it. I mean,
Yeah.
and maybe that's why a lot of people didn't get drunk, is because it was diluted. But when you don't dilute it, maybe that's how they got drunk. But
maybe.
it says that they would dilute it 3-to-1 water, sometimes up to 20-to-1.
Oh,
So
yeah. So maybe those.
It was mostly water, but I would assume that the less water you put, so
There you go.
maybe if you had straight wine,
Mm-hmm.
that might,
Yeah.
if you drink enough of that, you might eventually start to get a little buzzed, but
Maybe they just sat around eating the fermented grapes.
yeah.
Straight up
too.
Maybe that's what they did.
Yeah. Yeah, but you would have to have like a lot.
Yeah, I know.
A lot to make it do that.
That's what I was thinking. Like,
But
wow.
basically, so the first miracle he ever performed was the water into wine at Cana.
Yep.
And then it wasn't alcoholic wine.
Do we know his age at that point?
Well,
let's see. What can we say? Like I don't know why that popped into my head.
It's said that he, which this is going to be another video in the future too, on like how old we'll be in heaven.
Oh yeah.
But it is said that since supposedly Jesus died at 33 years old, that that is the age that we will be, somewhere around there, early 30s. And so since he was crucified at 33, the wedding at Cana was maybe like a year.
Gotcha.
I don't know the time frame, but it was close.
I don't know why it just crossed my mind. I was curious. Yeah.
So I would say like between 30 and 33 probably. He didn't even start his ministry until he was 30 because like they weren't allowed to teach until they were a certain age.
So it took him a while to perform a miracle to perform his first miracle.
Yeah. I think he was like I think he was like 30. That's my guess because shortly after all the miracles he was doing, he died. So he wasn't doing it for that long, I don't think. Maybe like a year or two.
It's weird how that just never crossed my mind, or like I didn't even realize, I don't know. It's so weird.
Yeah. He was older. But I mean, it's crazy because I'm 34. So
yeah,
to think that I'm a year older than he was when he died. That's crazy.
That is.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like when you're younger, you think he's like really old.
Yeah,
but he's not. He was a year younger than me, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I said last year I was in my Jesus year when I was 33 last year. Kind of made me a little nervous. I was like, I don't know. I felt like I was gonna like die or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
But yeah, so first miracle was water into wine, and then there's a bunch of miracles after that. But
yeah.
Wow. I've always heard the water into wine, but I never knew that was like the first. Miracle.
Yeah, I know it kind of blows me away. I didn't know that either. I did not realize that.
Yep. So
yeah, that was a pretty short one, but we're gonna pick a few shorter ones and kind of get ourselves ahead in case.
Like use them as stock videos.
Yeah.
Stock up just in case.
Yeah, if you see us in the same shirts.
It's not because we're disgusting and don't change. It's because we're doing an extra video. So
I felt the need to say that, but we just always want to be transparent and stuff because.
Well, yeah, especially because this last time when we got sick, like we weren't planning on getting sick, and so we didn't upload anything, but we had 2 videos the prior week, so we thought, oh well, that'll balance it out. But then we thought we should probably film a couple
Mm-hmm.
extra and have them just in case. So if you see this video, it'll be because, I don't know, we couldn't film
Yeah.
that week for whatever reason. Somebody got sick or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We're here in Alaska, you know, and you never know in the wintertime, so just have to go with the flow.
yeah. It's been really windy and cold, and
Yeah. Oh, this wind.
made myself worse because I was a little stuffy, and then I went outside and 25 degrees with no jacket on to watch the Northern Lights and stayed outside for like
Those
half
are
an hour
so
with no jacket
pretty.
on and made myself worse. So yeah, yeah. Hopefully next week we will be both 100%,
Yeah.
and we will have our tripod.
Oh, we won't both be 100% because I have a finger surgery.
Oh. There's always going to be something, probably.
Yeah.
But no,
That's okay.
we are
Who's
human.
100%?
We are human, and humans have flaws and problems.
Yeah.
And they get sick, and they have
Yeah.
things happen. So
Very,
just be patient with us. We are trying to make
yeah, we're
posts
just
regular.
Yep.
Still trying to get in the hang of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
we appreciate you guys sticking around.
Definitely do.
If you guys have any, we'll keep picking subjects unless you guys have suggestions. I had a friend suggest some things that we'll do in the future, but they're more controversial too. On cremation and what the Bible says on that, and then also suicide and what the Bible says on that. So those are a little heavy, and we already had a heavy one last time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to kind of separate those out with some more fun ones, I guess. So it's not heavy after heavy after heavy all the time.
Yeah.
And I guess till next time, stay blessed.
Stay blessed.